On the Fringe with Dan radio style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Gavin Newsom just got shafted. This happened, I think, Saturday, late Friday, I believe it was, when Trump was out there. Interesting little handshake heard around the world. Literally, you can see the white around his fingers where Trump was holding him so tightly. Also, had him waiting on the tarmac. That was pretty funny. We're going to be playing a lot of this stuff. Also, a lot is building up through with the new appointments, the appointment process, what the current appointments are doing. We got a whole lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. I think it's already going to be somewhat of a long show. We'll do our best to kind of jump through it. This was posted out today. Trump administration has allegedly located between 75,000 and 80,000 of the over 300,000 missing migrant children. This has been reported on Fox News. Heard some stories. I haven't seen the report, but I've heard some stories that they came from Greenland. I can't imagine that there were 75,000 people in Greenland because I think the overall population of Greenland's like 50,000. So I don't know. I don't know exactly where they all were, but apparently they found quite a few of them. Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller has some things to talk about when it comes to the administration and the child trafficking, the previous administration, I should say, and what the current administration is doing. Pretty good stuff. Check it out.
We've seen, as you know, 500,000 children trafficked over a 4-year period in the United States. This administration is going to investigate every instance of child trafficking, labor trafficking, sex trafficking, child smuggling, and all the attendant crimes involved in that. And our message to everyone in the country is to cooperate fully with Immigration and Customs Enforcement so that we can end the scourge of child trafficking and child abuse that has been endemic these last 4 years.
Or else we're going to come after you, because that's essentially what's going to happen if they fail to do what they need to do. So this John Brennan had, a little bit of a hissy fit. I don't know if we're going to play this whole thing. We're going to play like the first 2 minutes of this or so. I just had to remember what was up on this. But it was an interesting little piece that Fox News did, and then it goes into something, I don't know, a bunch of crap. Anyway, check it out.
2016 Russia collusion hoax by asking foreign intelligence agencies to illegally spy on the Trump campaign.
Lucas Tomlinson in Washington with more. Lucas.
Good early morning, Carly and Todd. This report from Substack citing multiple unnamed sources claims the U.S. intelligence community asked foreign spy agencies to help spy on more than 24 associates of Donald Trump in the run-up to the 2016 election. It reads in part, quote, President Barack Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, had identified 26 Trump associates for the Five Eyes to target. A source confirmed that the IC had identified them as people to bump or make contact with or manipulate. They were targets of our own IC and law enforcement, targets for collection and misinformation. Now, the Five Eyes nations are the U.S., UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Here's one of the reporters, Michael Schellenberger, who spoke to Jesse Waters last night.
If this binder contains what we have been told that it contains, which may include raw intelligence, information showing that the U.S. government, the CIA and the intelligence community of the U.S. government, initiated the Russia collusion hoax, that it did not occur in the way that the official story, including the Durham investigation, had portrayed it, then that's extremely serious information.
The report was released at the same time House conservatives are preparing a bill that would reauthorize Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act that allows the government to collect communications from foreigners abroad. And today, the House Rules Committee is set to meet over that FISA reform bill, guys.
So we'll see what all comes from all that. But, that's a pretty big release of information that Brennan was directly, in fact, involved in the spying of Trump. Pretty messed up. Trump administration testing system to message all federal workers. It's very funny how this whole story is playing out. They're talking about how a lot of these workers in government got this email, and it said email test, and it came from a specific new distribution or new sender, I should say. And they were attempting to be able to communicate to everybody within government with one communication, trying to centralize, which would make sense because obviously we've got a lot of chiefs or too many cooks in the kitchen, maybe another way to put it. And so a lot of people that work at the government were all confused about this email. Oh, I've never gotten anything from this sender before. I'm not sure what to do. I am so sure that 99% of the people that work in government are, no offense if any of you guys work in government, but are retards. And the fact that they got an email from a sender they don't know, I'd be surprised if more than 1% of the people working in government even noticed. Whatever the case is, they're trying to make a big deal about this. The reason they're trying to make a big deal about this is because it's actually a big deal. Trump is controlling communications. He is bringing everything in. The infamous emergency alert service, EAS. People keep waiting for that message to come through, which could still come through, by the way. We still haven't gotten the storm is upon us tweet, and that could also happen someday. A lot of things to keep in mind that probably will happen that haven't happened yet. And this is an interesting movement in that direction, I believe. We'll see. Again, everything is fluid and moving quickly as it plays out. Liz Harrington put this out. The stark difference between Trump and Biden. This is a pretty good little snippet.
An observation that I have made, given the fact that I've covered the Biden administration throughout the week, throughout the weekends. Generally speaking, there is a Marine standing outside the Oval Office whenever the president is in there working. The last 2 days here, today and yesterday, myself being at the White House, that Marine is constantly outside the Oval Office, signaling that the president is in there working for the American people. The Marine was never out there during the Biden administration. It was a very rare occurrence. If you did, the Marine was out there. It was very rare if it was, but by comparison, the Marine has always been out here the last 2 days. And when a lid was called yesterday, the lid was called around 7, 8 o'clock yesterday, the Marine remained out there after the lid was called, signaling that Donald Trump was working late into the night for the American people. Meanwhile, by comparison, lids during the Biden administration were routinely called at 11 a.m.
I have to say, when the commander-in-chief, when the boss in charge is outworking everyone, it sets a totally different standard for the entire country, all of the employees. I mean, think about it. When you work at a corporation and your boss is the first person in, the last person out, everyone better be working hard.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's hard to cry when your boss is putting in more time and effort than you are. And again, a lot of people are like, my boss is lazy. Well, I don't know. Who's the laziest, right? So again, it's one of the joys of, I guess, working for yourself too. Sometimes if you slack off, you're only screwing yourself. It's fantastic that way. This news was posted by Fox Business. Pfizer is going to pay nearly $60 million over kickbacks for migraine drug that was once promoted by Lady Gaga. Now, again, the interesting part is the fact that this company continues to get fined and fined hard for so many things that it's done that were shady at best. Kind of strange. Once more, $60 million. And again, I'm kind of partially wondering if this is some of how they're trying to get the deep state, trying to pull money from them, or trying to get money from them to help rebuild because they're so responsible for so much of it. Hard to say, but they're going to fight back a little bit. I want to remind you guys of your precious 401ks and your IRAs that you've got in the stock market against a dollar that is, it's still inflating. It's going to get better. Trump's going to be making a lot of things that's going to help with that, but I think we've still got another bump in the night. I still think, like the Pfizer situation, we've got companies, these banks, Bank of America, we've got companies that are doing some weird stuff and are kind of getting called out for it. This is going to affect overall stock prices. And some of these companies are companies I guarantee you your 401k or IRA are already invested in. They're solid investments, or were. One of the easiest ways to protect your wealth when we're going through times like this is to diversify into precious metals. Precious metals, whenever the economy gets weird, precious metals always spike. Silver's done it numerous times, and in fact, they say there's a potential shortage of silver right now because of manufacturing demands. So silver's actually one of those things that we're expecting to see the price go up a little abnormally, but gold is way, way above where it was a year ago and certainly above where it was 2 years ago. Gold is outperforming many, many assets out there. Go to drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. You can tax-free and penalty-free transfer out of your 401k, or at least divest some of your money out of your 401k IRA into a precious metals IRA. You still get the same benefits. You're still able to cash it out at time at the time when you get older. And you're able to continue to put money into it. It's very powerful. Also, for those of you that are interested in just getting small amounts of precious metals, well, it's pretty awesome. Goldco's actually lowered their minimum purchase. So you can now call them up and purchase a small amount. And they've got like palladium, they've got platinum, they've got a lot of really, really cool metals on top of gold and silver. So it's one of those things where if you have a little bit of cash and you'd like to put it into something that's still going up and up, and precious metals are doing very well, maybe pick up a couple things. Put your same 4 data points in here. They're going to reach out to you, say, hey, this is what I want to do, and they're going to help you out with the best customer service you've probably ever experienced. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Either get out of their system or invest and divest into precious metals and give yourself a fighting chance through what we're likely going to be going through. The deep state is not going to be happy with what is happening. I know there is this kind of weird calm that's happening because Trump's in office. This game is far from done, folks. We've still got a lot to go on. Don't know when and where, or how even it plays out, but there's a strong chance there's some stuff coming. So be prepared as best you can. drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Protect your wealth before they take it away from you. Here's some fun of Gavin Newsom waiting for Trump. Literally had him waiting out on the tarmac for 10 minutes. Pretty damn funny. That handshake we'll see again in slow motion. But again, Gavin takes it like a champ, or at least doesn't seem to hurt him, at least on his facial expressions. Trump says God knows what to him, a very short, brief statement, but very interesting how this plays out. Now here is the promised handshake in slow motion. Hopefully you can see it.
These guys are still wrestling over the hand jobs.
You're right.
Wait.
White knuckle.
It is. Look at it. Look at it. It's exactly in his hand. It's all what.
And then Gavin says fist pump.
Oh, I could have got that out of the way. Jesus.
And he says, no, don't stop it. Oh, that's a bird.
You talking to me?
Are you
fucking mobster? I don't get it, man. Get out of Hollywood, dude. You're acting like a fucking mobster.
So again, pretty funny stuff, how it worked out, and that was a heck of a handshake. They get slammed pretty hard. Karen Balls Bass is going to have, she gets called out twice. I've got some video of that, but first let's see Gavin Newsom and Trump coming to the podium. And I think Trump played it well. Whatever they talked about on the tarmac was what they talked about on the tarmac. This was played to the public, and Trump is being nice publicly.
Hello, everybody. So we just left North Carolina a little while ago. We have that in very good shape. We have the congressman in charge and Michael Watley, and we're going to do a lot of work. We have the Army Corps of Engineers working as they are here. And I think you're going to see some very big progress. They left them high and dry. And now we're going to be taking a little tour with some of the people from the area. I appreciate the governor coming out and meeting me, Kevin. Very much. And we'll be talking a little bit. We want to get it fixed. We want to get the problem fixed. And there'll be some ways, but it's like you got hit by a bomb, right?
Yeah.
Like you got hit by a bomb. Would you like to say something?
Most importantly, thank you for being here. It means a great deal to all of us, not just the folks in Palisades, the folks in Altadena that were devastated. We're going to need your support. We're going to need your help. You were there for us during COVID. I don't forget that. And I have all the expectations that we'll be able to work together to get this speedy recovery.
We will. We're going to get it done. tremendous numbers of lives have been affected. A lot of real estate's been affected. Nobody's ever probably seen anything like this. You can almost say since the Second World War, when you think of it. I mean, nothing like this has happened. And we're going to get it fixed, so we'll get it permanently fixed, so it can't happen again. And again, we'll be talking a little bit later, and we'll get it worked out, okay?
I appreciate it, Mr. President.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Both of you have disagreed a lot over the past week over what has happened in this state. How do you plan to
We got to
put your
get it
differences
finished.
aside?
We're looking to get something completed. And the way you get it completed is to work together. It's the governor of the state. And we're going to get it completed. They're going to need a lot of federal help. Unless you don't need any, which should be okay.
We're going to need a lot of federal help.
So we're going to take care of things. Okay?
I have all the confidence in the world we'll work that out.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I guess some of you are coming with us and some of you not. Thank you very much. Thank you.
My favorite part, of course, is the little Asian girl over here on the side that is literally, it looks like trying to transcribe everything. She's just texting everything they say. It's like, oh my goodness. I couldn't do that. I'd jack up. I'd hit the wrong characters. The number 8, it gets swapped out for I and O all the damn time. It'll spell check me if I put fuck in my thing. It'll change that to God knows what. But it'll let me type any word with an 8 instead of an I or a 0 or a O. Yeah, go figure, right? It's stupid. It's extremely stupid, in fact. So yeah, this is just awesome. Trump doesn't tolerate what's going on. I got 3 really, really good snippets. I think 3 or 4 really good snippets of the meeting he had with Karen Balls and all of the people in there. I think Brad's the dude's name from the agency they want to get, FEMA. I think he's from FEMA. Anyway, I'm going to try to play through him reasonably quickly, but Trump, he's not having it. He interrupts. He tells them what needs to happen, and he's very specific. It's pretty awesome.
Unfortunately, it's a very sad period, but what makes you feel good is I met so many of the homeowners, and every one of them, a lot of them, and every one of them said to me they want to rebuild. I said, will you go elsewhere? No. It wasn't even like a question. They love the area. They love the people. It's like a family. It's incredible, actually, when you see some things like that. We just left North Carolina, and we had just a similar type of disaster. It was water instead of fire, but boy, that water did damage like I've never seen before. And then you come here and you see this. But the people are so amazing, and your fire department was so beautiful. Every one of them is in perfect physical shape. I said, what do you guys do? They have very high standards, I can tell you. And we took pictures with all of them, but very nicely they gave us a little helmet. And I said, you wear this, huh? Is this real? And they said, yeah. I said, it's awfully heavy. You have to be very strong to wear that. But that's the original, right? So it's pretty good. But I just want to thank everybody. We're going to be with you. Your governor met us at the plane, and we had a good talk, very, very positive talk. We have to work together to get this really worked out. I don't think you can realize how rough it is, how devastating it is until you see it. I didn't realize, I saw a lot of bad things on television, but the extent of it, the size of it, we flew over it in a helicopter. We flew to a few of the areas, and it is devastation. It's incredible. It's really an incineration. Even some of the chimneys came down, okay? When you have the chimneys come down, you know that's pretty hot stuff, and a lot of them were down. That was a bad sign, too. But I just want to commiserate, and we're going to celebrate. We'll be back to celebrate one day soon, I hope soon. The federal government standing behind you.
All right, pretty close to where we wanted to get. Sorry for cutting that slightly early. And again, he continues on. This is, I think, he got a couple of these where he's having direct conversations with Karen Balls, and he shuts her down and got her to change her tune, by the way, which is impressive.
People can start right away. And just like you said, if somebody had their house was destroyed and they're going to rebuild essentially the same, maybe a little bit longer, a little bit higher, they really shouldn't have to go through much of a process. So I want you to know that we are expediting that. We absolutely need your help. We need the federal help. You're a
You've
builder.
got it. I told you. You will have no permit problem. There will be zero delay. And as far as I'm concerned, you already have the permits.
And the resource.
I am more worried because I met at least 8 groups of homeowners, and I'm much more worried about the fact that they said it's 18 months exactly, and they were devastated. They want to start now. They want to start removing things. They're not allowed to do it now. And you mentioned hazardous waste. Well, the hazardous waste. What's hazardous waste? I mean, you're going to have to define that. We're going to go through a whole series of questions on determining what's hazardous.
Nope.
I just think you have to allow the people to go on their site and start the process tonight.
And we will.
Okay, good.
You can come back and check.
Mr. President?
Yeah, so not 18 months, but I think Trump kind of hammers back on her even further on that because, again, she's kind of talking like a politician, saying they're going to do one thing, but the reality of what they're actually doing is being called out by Trump, and I think that's important to point out as well.
And the number one thing that we are going to do immediately, and you will see this happen, is to clear out the debris. And we're concerned right now over the weekend because of the potential rain, but we are going to move as fast as we can, but we want you to be safe, and we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't cost a lot.
Yes, and they can.
You
and
should
they are
let them
able
do it because
No,
by the time you
can do
hire
that.
contractors, it's going to be 2 years.
If a family...
People are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can
There's
do
not
that.
that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know that guy right there that's talking. I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours, and that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract that's going to charge him $25,000 to do his lot. Yeah. I think you have emergency powers just like I do, and I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
I did exercise them.
Because I looked, you have a very powerful emergency power, and you can do everything within 24 hours.
Yes. And if individuals want to clear out their property, they can. Well, yes, but you know that you will be able to go back soon.
Mr. President.
We think within a week.
That's a long time, a week. I'll be honest. To me, everyone's standing in front of their house. They want to go to work, and they're not allowed to do it.
And the most important thing is for people to be safe.
They're safe. They're safe. You know what? They're not safe. They're not safe now. They're going to be much safer. A week is actually a long time, the way I look at it. I watched hundreds of people standing in front of their lots, and they're not allowed to go in. It's all burned. It's gone. It's done. Nothing's going to happen to it. It's not going to burn anymore. There's nothing to burn. There's almost nothing to burn. And they want to go in. The people are all over the place. They're standing, and I say, why aren't you going in? We're trying to get a permit. And the permit's going to take them, everybody said 18 months. You said 18 months. You said 18 months.
Last night.
And that was last night.
On that.
Yeah, Karen, keep that stupid smile on your face because, you're looking like an idiot. You're looking like someone that's just being a bureaucrat. And, nobody likes that. Again, here's some more from that meeting.
They don't have to go out and get funds. Some people are just not going to be able to rebuild their home because they have a beautiful home, but they don't have cash, right? So what are people looking to do in that case? You're going to have a big percentage, I would assume, Brad, like that. What are they going to do? Go ahead.
Mr. President, without your help, they're only going to get $43,000 from the federal government, even if they have a half $1 million
you did something,
loss.
Brad, where every insurance company in the country left California. That's why you have no insurance, because you made it so impossible. People that think like you made it so impossible. And
Brad, me?
Every
Mr.
insurance
President,
company.
I don't know what
I'll tell you this,
about my thinking.
I've never seen a state where almost nobody has insurance. And I said, what happened? And they said like 6 months ago they all left. And 2 years ago they had different, quadrants, but they left. and you have very little insurance here. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
We had a lot of insurance companies pull out, but I have no
and
idea.
The insurance companies actually have been warning you. Now, I'm not a big fan of insurance companies, okay? They have their big drawbacks too, but the insurance company, I read the papers very well, and you know, they've been warning California for a long time. They've also been saying, we want water. You don't have water. You're supposed to get fire insurance. And the insurance company goes, you don't have any water in your fire hydrants. So it's a tough situation. I'm not a big fan of insurance companies. I get that.
They're pulling out of Florida
Brad,
as
you
well.
lost your insurance company 6 months ago because the state wouldn't give them what they had to have.
Yeah, and Mr. President, I remember the
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think, again, kind of did a good job there shutting down Mr. FEMA. So, again, after fires, California lawmakers are now proposing a bill, this is down in San Diego, proposing a bill to substantially reduce permitting times. Literally. If the government takes too long, which I think they're defining as, they have 14 days to receive the third-party reports. If it's longer than that, they're going to let them go around the government. This is fantastic. And this is part of what's going to start to shut down the government. One of the greatest things is if government's not able to move within 14 days and whatever excuse they use for it, it means government bureaucracy is way too much, which means it needs to be fixed. It needs to be whittled down. It needs to be able to make decisions much faster than it does. And Trump's been ripping on FEMA, since Katrina days all the way up. So FEMA is a failed organization, and it needs to be either removed or fixed. But it can't continue being what it is now. That's just unacceptable. So there are cities and towns that are trying to do their own thing. This was put out, apparently an individual just drove past a bunch of the Army Corps of Engineers in Western North Carolina. Folks, they are back. As they say, Trump promises and Trump delivers. And that is a beautiful thing. So the Army Corps of Engineers is at least out there helping clear some lots and stuff, I guess. I'm not 100% sure what they're doing, but I'm sure it's making a difference, whatever the case is. So, yes, timing is everything. Apparently, the State of the Union. I didn't notice this on the State of the Union. I've heard some discussions about it, and this is kind of cool. I heard the presidential seal was backwards, and I kept looking at the one on the podium. I'm like, no, he's facing the olive branch, the beak of the bird. But apparently on the back wall, he did it in front of a famous photo that was done back, 1942, after the declaration of war with Europe. And they essentially did a new drawing of that picture, a new image of it, whatever. And it was the eagle pointing its beak towards the arrows. I think there's 13 arrows in its hand or its claw. And that was to represent fighting or war. And when it's facing the olive branch, it's favoring diplomacy, which is typically what it was changed to that, I believe, after the war, because they thought that was better kind of way for the United States to move forward as more of an actor of peace rather than constantly being an aggressor. Whatever the case is, behind Trump was the changed image, which can be implied a few things. Either A, to the rest of the world, but I think the deep state specifically, that we are at war with the deep state. Again, that's why I say DRS-like-scold.com. We are at war with the deep state. The deep state is directly responsible for the central bank system. The deep state's directly involved in that. How that fixes itself, I don't know, but I'm having a hard time seeing. Maybe you guys have a better view of the future, but I'm having a hard time seeing how the Federal Reserve continues and we somehow are free from the deep state. I just don't know how that happens, if it can. I feel like there has to be at some point a return to our and other countries' own monetary systems. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, someone did some very cool stuff on this post and even ties back to the date that the post was done. I think, or they're talking about anyway, March 4th. There is actually this Congress thing that was sent out by Speaker Johnson, and they want to have Trump there to speak to the U.S. House about all the consequential stuff that's going on. Kind of like a State of the Union, except you usually wait a year to do that, I believe. So this would be kind of like the equivalent. And also March 4th, if I remember correctly, wasn't that the original day that we used to swear in our president? I might be wrong on that, but for all you historians, I want to say that was the original day, or I even think some have argued that that date somehow more appropriate or more in the Constitution. Again, I'm not an expert, but I think that date is significant in that regard as well, which is Well, something to keep in the back of your head, probably. State Department issues immediate widespread pause on foreign aid. Literally. All foreign aid with the exception of Israel and some other weird country, but it certainly wasn't Ukraine. No. So we are going to continue to give money to 2 existing countries, but no longer going to give any to Ukraine. Ukraine's kind of freaking out right now, and we know that for sure. And this is going to happen for 90 days. So he's kept CDC, the NIH, they can't publicly say anything, so they can't call a pandemic right now. They have no permission or allowance. We've got the Secretary of State shutting down any money going out to any other countries right now for any other things other than the 2 countries that they called us, they said it was okay. Israel and Egypt, I guess, are the 2 that are getting some financial help from us. Egypt's the second one. So that's very powerful. We'll see, again, how that continues to play out. Trump's firing of independent watchdog officials has drawn criticism. Apparently, he fired 17 independent watchdogs on Friday. People are kind of freaking out, and it's funny, the arguments they're making. One, you've got a lot of people in government right now that are like, if they keep doing this, I'll just quit, and then what are you going to do? It's like, rejoice. We'll be stoked. And I think that is a big part of what this is a shakeout, a shakedown. And they're going to get a lot of these people to quit. Here's the funny thing. A lot of the people that are going to quit are going to be your pink-haired, your blue-haired, your typical, those types of woke people, right? They're the ones that are going to be the most butthurt and make the most noise. Most other people kind of get it. And so they're going to quit. And when you quit, you're going to lose out on the opportunity of getting unemployment because you quit. It was your choice, not their choice. So this is going to be an interesting little lesson, I think, to a lot of people that think that everything should just be handed to them and they should be able to do whatever they want. And who cares what my boss says? That's not, who's he to tell me what to do? There's a weird thought process that goes on in a lot of people's minds. And I see it like union workers, I see doing it. No offense to any of the union workers out there, but I do hear it constantly like, the company's just trying to make more money. It's like the company's the enemy. And it's like the company's who's given you a job and the company's who pays you. And it's through their profits that they're able to pay you. Right? And then on top of that, your job generally is to deal with the customer. And most of these people are so being pissed off at the company that they actually don't like the customer because they feel like that screws the company. And it's like, it's a very backward system. It is very socialist communist. It's why communism doesn't work. It's what happened in Soviet Russia. They essentially, you'd go down to a store, like a restaurant, and it would be open like an hour a day. And they'd be like, how do you guys even afford to stay open an hour? And they're like, doesn't matter. We don't care. I get paid the same if we open or close. Doesn't make a bit of difference. So I open up for a short period of time. If you make it, you do. If you don't care. It's your problem, not mine. And that is what happens. There's zero reason to be good at anything. There's zero reason to try to be good at customer service. It's just a totally different way of thinking. So, all said, people are freaking out. I think it's pretty damn funny. In the first 80 hours, approximately $420 million of current and pending contracts have already been canceled. This is what Doge has managed to do in just its first 80 hours. 2 leases have also been canceled. Initial focus is mainly on DEI contracts and unoccupied buildings. Already saving a ton of money, and they're going to continue to do that. Trump's DOJ asked the Supreme Court to freeze cases on student debt. Says he might actually want to undo some sort of thing that's happening in the back end from the government side. And so they're like, can you freeze these? We're actually going to make a change and see what happens. This new motion leaves the door open to have the briefing schedule reinstated should a matter not be resolved. But the filing signaled the disputes may become moot as the Trump administration moves to reverse the very decisions that spurred the legal challenges. I don't know if he's planning on just getting rid of the idea of giving this debt relief or what. I don't know how Trump's going to do this without pissing off kind of a group of people, but he might find a better way to solve this problem than what Bush or Biden was going to do or the deep state was going to do. Donald Trump Jr. posted this out. Pretty awesome. Day 1 of John Ratcliffe at the CIA. Strips security clearances from Brennan and other spies who lied. Closes DEI offices and places all DEI staff on administrative leave, won't allow them to take other roles, and has announced assessments that COVID leaked from the Wuhan lab, just all in day one. He's not doing a bad job, it seems, right? So now we've got information that CIA now favors the lab leak theory to explain COVID's origin. I don't think I've had the interview, but Ratcliffe was asked about it, I think, with Maria Bartiromo. And he basically said, he didn't answer her question specifically, like that the government knew or was even possibly behind this lab leak lie/story. But he says the facts will come out, and I will make sure that people know the facts. And that was kind of his answer. So this is some of the factual stuff that is coming out, and more information will come out. And we are going to find that there was some dirty birds in the CIA. Ratcliffe is making a difference, and I think that's one of the things he needs to be able to respond to as well. When he puts out this negative news, yeah, the CIA was doing this, that, and the other thing, horrible. And then we're like, so what have you done to stop it? And he's like, so the people that were involved either were fired or whatever, right? So we'll see how it plays out, but there's obviously going to be some interesting things happening along the way. I mean, again, trying to speculate is pointless to me. It's just more fun to like enjoy the movie as the scenes come rather than trying to guess the next part of the movie, right? I don't know. It's funny. I've had this conversation with people, but like, if you could know the future, would you? And a lot of people would say yes. Some people don't really think about that properly. If you literally knew what was going to happen before it happened all the time, like, or at least most of the time, life would be extraordinarily boring, and it really would. So not knowing stuff is oftentimes really the better way to live. Knowing that it's going in a general direction should be, in often cases, sufficient. But maybe you think differently. It's okay. Daniel Scavino posted this. This is beautiful. Sorry. Even CNN knows what's up. We are transforming America. MAGA. And it talks about 4 days of the Trump administration. Freeze civil rights cases. Recognize only 2 genders. Shut down the gun violence and Prevention Office, rename Denali and Gulf of Mexico. Denali's Mount McKinley up in Alaska. Withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord, DEI federal employees unpaid leave, reassigned career DOJ officials, made it easier to fire federal employees, sent home 160 national security officials, withdrawal from World Health Organization, all HHS public communications halted, paused NIH grant-making process, police reform and agreements halted. Broad investigations into the Biden administration. And this is just the first week, almost. That's amazing, right? How much stuff has happened in this short period of time. This was posted out, and it's Speaker Johnson saying, it's my distinct honor and great privilege to invite President Donald Trump to address the joint sessions of Congress on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, to share his America First vision for our future. Again, sort of like a State of the Union, but early. We had Comer that was on with Maria Bartiromo. We will play this, and here we go.
Congratulations on the book. But I've got to tell you, my audience is a little disappointed. So with these pardons, should we just expect, after all that work you put into it, after all the conversations we've had, they got away with it?
I certainly hope not. The ball's going to be in Pam Bondi's court. We're communicating with her people right now. I've had a good meeting with Kash Patel. One thing I'm confident is going to happen, and you saw that with John Ratcliffe, we're going to hold people in the government accountable that were involved in the cover-up. He's already held the 51 intelligence officials that lied to the American people when they said the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, when most of them, in fact, knew that it was not Russian disinformation. Now we want to get the people that were involved in the cover-ups, because what we found in our investigation, and I write about it extensively in my book, is that there were 4 different agencies investigating the Bidens: the IRS, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Securities and Exchange Commission. And obviously they wanted to get to Joe Biden, because none of this money would be coming into the president's son or brother were it not for Joe Biden. Every time they got ready to ask Joe Biden, they were told to stand down by a deep state actor. I want those people held accountable. And then with respect to the Bidens, I don't think these preemptive pardons would hold up in court. I would like to see a jury that would be sympathetic to what he said. We're pardoning you for anything you may have done over the past decade pertaining to influence peddling. That's baloney, and no jury in America would buy that, in my opinion.
So you think the preemptive pardons are not legitimate?
I don't, but there are a lot better legal minds than mine, I'm sure. But, you know, I don't think the average person that works hard and pays taxes has much sympathy for a president that in his last act in office pardoned his entire family for financial public corruption and didn't have the guts to tell anybody why he did it.
Because he's a douchehole. At least that's my easy answer. That's what I think. I don't know. I think a lot of people are going to be stoked about this. I personally think this is stupid. I like Rep. Paulina Luna. I like her a bunch. She's also smoking hot. She's got a couple things going for her. I love that. Absolutely. I really, honestly, sweetheart, if for some reason someone gets you this message, like, can you spend your time in office actually working on important shit? Like, we got so many things that we're working on right now. Whether or not Donald Trump is placed on Mount Rushmore, 1, way too early. 2, seriously? Come on, man. Seriously, if you don't have anything better to do, you're part of the government waste that we have a problem with. And I adore you. Maybe for the wrong reasons. I'm hoping for the right reasons. But whatever. She put in a thing, legislation to put Trump on Mount Rushmore. I think we've got way more important. Here's another example of something that's funny, and there's a second side to this that I'll give credit where it's due, and it's coming up on the next slide. But members of Congress have introduced a bill to rename Dulles Airport as the Donald Trump Airport. Now, what's fun about that is the Dulles Airport, well, we'll let the slide speak for itself. I'm not going to play the thing, but this came from a very reasonable information, right? Whatever that is. But it should be no surprise that reports of renaming Dulles after Donald J. Trump is coming back around right as the JFK, RFK, and MLK files are being planned to be scheduled to be released in full someday. It sounds like the Dulles brothers, true villains certainly, will have their reputations destroyed as the cost of moving on. They'll be the fall guys so the rest can continue to avoid accountability. An airport named after Trump will be our special prize for agreeing that it's time to move on from the whole assassination thing. The original report from last April on the renaming of Dulles to Donald Trump International. See, they were trying to make the Dulles thing go away because the Dulles brothers are the ones that were directly behind a lot of the misinformation and bullshit with JFK and probably MLK too. So they want to name it Trump to make that go away. So it's completely covered because we will be like, wow, it's Trump Airport. Oh, that's so awesome. And again, members of Congress, seriously find some more important shit to work on. Don't care what the airport's called right now. Let's stop kissing our own asses, folks, right? Let's stop patting ourselves on the back and stay busy and focused on what needs to happen. And I mean that to my audience too. Yay, they're going to name an airport after Trump. Who gives a fuck, okay? Seriously. Get over it. We need to work forward. There's so much shit that needs to make sure it's happened. Not just happening, but happened. So we can look back on it and be like, oh, you remember the day when we used to have 500,000 missing kids? Or you remember the day where we used to be taxed 40-some%? Things are changing, and we got to stop focusing on some of this stupid stuff and focus on the real stuff, right? I don't give a crap what the airport's named after. Maybe you do. I don't know. Again, Mount Rushmore, and then they can put that right below it, and it'll be beautiful. Dulles Airport, even though they're not near each other. I know that. J.D. Vance, pretty cool stuff, calling out the hypocrites who spent the last 4 years cashing over $100 million in government checks while remaining silent. There's countless young girls being taken.
But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line? We are going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump promised to do that. And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
You personally
let them talk
support them
about
going into
people like
schools
Laken
and
Riley
churches.
who were brutally murdered. I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe.
Did you hear how she's like, so you think they can just go into schools? That's never been discussed. Everything Homan said and everything he's done has been about busting people that are actual criminals. Now, again, I guess if you've got a criminal in a school and the police show up and arrest him Well, yeah, that's good. Actually, you just protected a bunch of kids in that case. So again, this is CBS, ABC, CNN's in a tough place, but MSNBC for sure. Like the whole NBC maybe will save themselves. Like CNN and NBC have a chance. Fox they're fine, even though they're definitely doing a lot of the similar programming techniques. It's just they happen to be talking about people we like, so makes it seem like it's safe, even though it's not. It's better, though. I will give you that. If you're going to be brainwashed in that direction, it's probably going to benefit you more than the others. So Donald Trump truthed this out. Congratulations to Pete Hegseth. He will make a great Secretary of Defense. He definitely was sworn in. What else we got? McConnell, he was one of the people that voted no on Hegseth, which set up the 50-50 vote, which J.D. Vance came in and voted for Hegseth. So we had Murkowski, Collins, and McConnell all voted no. There's 3 rhinos that must be removed. I'd like to see some recall petitions floating around. I don't know if that's ever happened with a senator, but it would sure be awesome to see. So any of you guys that are in those areas, I'd love to see some recall petitions going on. If you're aware of them, get that information to me, and I will talk about it as well and try to give it some reach. But we need to ripple these people out of existence. We need to ripple them like an earthquake and shake them to the ground is what needs to happen. Here is our new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, making a nice little speech. I think you'll enjoy it, please.
All praise and glory to God. His will be done, and we're grateful to be here. And as I said in my hearing, it was Jesus and Jenny. I would not be here without you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. I want to thank the President of the United States, our Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump. We could not have a better Commander-in-Chief than him. It is the honor of a lifetime, sir, to serve under you. We look forward to having the backs of our troops and having your back in executing peace through strength, in putting America first, and in rebuilding our military. Mr. Vice President, thank you for breaking the tie. It's not the last time, or not the first time the headline reads, Junior Enlisted Marine bails out Junior Army Officer. And, you know, some people were saying, well, 50-50, that's too tight. And Senator Mark Wayne Mullen was nice enough to take my kids up to the gallery to watch the actual moment that the Vice President sealed the deal. And they came running in. They said, Dad, instead of being sad about 50-50, 51-50, they said, Dad, you won in overtime. That's the perspective I like. So thank you throughout this process, Mr. Vice President, for being incredible. I also want to thank the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. So many members of the Senate Armed Services Committee, we became fast friends in this process. The advice, the consent, the wisdom, the guidance. I look forward to working with all of you and other senators to ensure the Defense Department has what it needs, that our nation has what it needs, and that we're prepared to defend it in all moments. To my staff, amazing staff who were with us this entire process, I see so many of you through thick and thin. We used to look at the betting odds every once in a while on this. It was low at one point. Never do that. But we defied them. And there were so many folks on the inside and then allies on the outside who stood by us every single moment. And we are eternally grateful for that. And I want to thank the warfighters. I want to thank the men and women wearing the uniform. And I've said this before when I speak, and I mean it. Every time I stand at a podium and there's bright lights and cameras, the first thing that goes through my head are the guys that I served with on the battlefield. The men and the women who I lock shields with and put my life on the line with, who never get the spotlight, who never have the cameras, who people don't know what they did in dark and dangerous places. But I know. And at the Pentagon, we're going to remember and we're going to know. And we're going to think about those warriors with every single decision that we make. We will put America first. We will bring peace through strength. And the 3 principles I talked about are what we will bring to that Pentagon. Restore the warrior ethos in everything that we do. Rebuild our military. And reestablish deterrence. We don't want to fight wars. We want to deter them, as you said. And we want to end them responsibly. But if we need to fight them, we're going to bring overwhelming and decisive force to close with and destroy the enemy and bring our boys home. to my other family that's here as well, who I love, it's the honor of a lifetime. And I would be remiss if I didn't note one person in this room who doesn't expect to be recognized, but Captain Araujo is here. He was my company commander on my first deployment in Guantanamo Bay. He was there on June 3rd, 2003, when I first swore in as a second lieutenant at Princeton University, and he swore me in. And I wanted to make sure he was here today with me as well. Thank you very much. So, Mr. President, thank you very much to the American people. We have your back. We're going to get to work right away. God bless. Thank you.
Am I the only one that finds it interesting that Catherine Herridge is down in Guantanamo Bay and Pete Hegseth is bringing in the guy that swore him in Guantanamo Bay? Probably just weird coincidence, I'm sure. I mean, of course, right? Marsha Blackburn has a nice discussion with talking about the elections and how the Democrats don't seem to have learned their lesson and how they keep doing what they're doing. It's a pretty good little bit here. Check it out.
Let's discuss the latest developments on Capitol Hill with Republican Senator from the great state of Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn. Great to have you with us, Senator. I guess the obvious question is, how surprised are you that it was a 50-50 tie broken ultimately by the vice president?
Well, being a deputy whip, I was not surprised. We felt like this may happen. I am so pleased that we have Vice President Vance. Pete Hegseth deserved to be confirmed. He is going to be a very effective Secretary of Defense. And I'm so pleased we've crossed that hurdle. And as I said, we're in the middle of a vote series, and I'm going to jump back over and vote yes on cloture for Kristi Noem to be the Secretary of Homeland Security.
You know, it's interesting. I remember with the Biden cabinet, it took until about early March to get everybody over the finish line. This seems to be dragging on a bit, at least for my liking. Is that your feeling?
Well, the Democrats are trying to obstruct. And, you know, Kevin, it's like they have learned nothing at all from the November elections. And they don't realize their voters gave President Donald Trump a mandate to bring some transparency, some efficiency, to secure the border, to restore trust in the Department of Defense, to get rid of DEI, to get inflation under control. And they would be well served to work with us to get these nominees across the finish line and to do it quickly, because that is what is good for the American people.
Yeah, the country needs to get down to business. Let me ask you one more thing about Pete before I ask you a broader question about transparency. What is the one or maybe the top priorities that you think he should really focus on as he embarks on this incredible challenge, one that he is clearly well qualified for?
Yes, and first of all, getting rid of DEI and letting people know they can execute their mission and that they have his support in executing that mission. Number two is realizing that lethality is important to a fighting force. Number three, realizing that China is an adversary. There is an axis of evil: Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. And what we have to do is make certain that these people understand that we know they're an enemy, and our allies need to know that they can depend on us. And Pete Hegseth is going to bring that credibility to the job.
In the last 30 seconds or so that I have left, we've noticed, I think a lot of people have certainly felt, that the president is really doing lots of things that are transparent. We've heard the expression transparency here in Washington, pretty rare. In fact, that he said that JFK, RFK, MLK files will all be open. How impressed are you by the job he's doing with that? And what about some of these other things that Americans are concerned about, like 9/11 files, the Epstein list?
Well, as you know, the Epstein list is something that I've worked on for a couple of years and actually tried to subpoena those, and was blocked by Chairman Durbin at that point at Judiciary Committee.
I remember that.
The good thing about this is Donald Trump has listened to the American people. And as President of the United States, he made promises. He is keeping those promises. The American people want to know what is in those files. They want to know who has wronged this country, and to be able to see this will build their confidence in this administration. And I think President Trump has had a pitch perfect week.
And I know that you continue to lead the fight on that. If you do
Yes.
get that list published, I think it'll be of great interest to the
It
country.
will help us in
Yeah.
human trafficking
Yes.
in the United States.
Absolutely important. Marsha Blackburn, great.
So, yeah, big time making steps in the right direction. I mean, Kristi Noem was, in fact, confirmed. Hegseth was, too, not to be confused. Obviously, we talked about that. And who was the other one that got confirmed? I think it might have been Noem. Also, just hearing Taliban is holding more American hostages than has been reported. This is Secretary Marco Rubio, by the way, saying this. So we're just hearing that Taliban has more American hostages than we thought. He said, if this is true, we will have to immediately place a very big bounty on their top leaders, maybe even bigger than the one we had on bin Laden. You know that makes them very, very nervous because, yeah, it's wabbit season or duck season. I'm not sure which, but yeah, we're hunting something, dadgummit. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey. She's changing her mind about deporting criminal illegals when things get real. She was talking about how Massachusetts governor says she's going to use executive power to stop Trump from deporting criminal aliens. We want to protect our residents. And just a short bit after, Bill Malugin reports that they embedded exclusively with ICE Boston today as they targeted egregious criminal aliens. We witnessed 8 arrests, including multiple MS-13, Interpol red notices, murder and rape suspects, and a volatile Haitian gang member with 18 convictions in recent years. And all of a sudden after that, now Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey reacts to the ICE Boston operation and said she supports the apprehension of criminals. You see, it's death to a politician to support the criminal over the normal citizen, the law-abiding citizen. So Massachusetts governor, or mayor, is one of them. The mayor of Newark, New Jersey, is now arguing that illegal immigrants aren't criminals after ICE raided a business in his city. He is appalled and concerned about the constitutional rights of people here illegally. He's under the impression, this is the last thing he says after 2 very long minutes, that these people, it's against the Constitution. They don't have constitutional protections because they're not citizens, you dumb fuck. Whatever the hell your name is, and it's not because of the color of your skin, it's the content of your character with which I think you seem like a dumb fuck. That's all. So whatever. This guy is hopefully tries to get in the way, and his... well, mess around and find out. It would be the same thing. We have this update. Border czar Tom Homan says he will arrest Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs if she interferes in mass deportation of illegal aliens there. Please, Katie, I triple dog dare you. Pretty please. Please, the whole world would love you to get in the way. You should do that. It's a good idea. So Donald Trump truthed this out. Who the media wants you to think Trump is deporting, these beautiful children and women, these lovely people. How could possibly anything bad come from this? When in the reality is MS-13 gang members, dudes that are fully tatted up, dudes that have killed people. This isn't who we're deporting. This is who we're deporting, at least first. And that's going to make this country a great deal safer than it has been, that's for sure. So, of course, the fake news is already lying about our successful partnership with Mexico, helping to make our region safe again. Here's NBC News. Remember, NBC wanted to, separate from MSNBC because nobody trusts MSNBC, so they're trying to clean up their image. Yet, here's NBC News saying Mexico refuses to accept a U.S. deportation flight. Now, maybe there was a flight, not sure, but what we know for fact, what the truth is so far 4 ICE flights have arrived in Mexico yesterday. This would have been the 23rd. 4 flights arrived. 2 military flights were sent to Guatemala because they were filled with Guatemalans. 2,000 aliens were deported to Mexico yesterday alone by land and air as Remain in Mexico was re-implemented. Promises made, promises kept, and NBC apparently still incapable of reporting proper news. Nobody's ever going to trust you, NBC. You could split away from MSNBC. Yeah, they're probably worse, but you are certainly no better. That's for sure. Pretty funny little moment here with Tom Homan and whoever this chick is. The way they cut this up is pretty damn funny. Check it out.
Go back to those military flights. going south. As you said, we have never seen that before. Is that going to be a constant commitment from the U.S. military every single day to take deportees out?
Yes.
Is this what we will see every single day, ending in what the president has promised is millions and millions being deported?
Yes.
Every single day?
Yes.
Every single day?
Yes.
United States of America, Donald.
On the shoulder. You adjust the microphone as you told, man.
She seems distraught, doesn't she? Yeah, I don't know, but I thank you, Tom. Thank you very much, brother. Leading report put this out. President Trump announced plans to either terminate nearly 88,000 IRS agents or reassign them to Border Patrol duties. Take your pick. That should be interesting, right? Wonder what they'll choose. I want to remind you guys to choose smart when it comes to health. I love this company, by the way. Healthy Home or Heal Thy Home. Kind of two fun ways to look at it. And that's them coming up with it, not me. But go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. I finally finished my first of the stem cells. These are awesome. When you eat the stem cells or get more stem cells in you, it actually creates I want to say 6 million. There's many millions that over an extraordinary short period of time, like 20 minutes, your numbers go up. Now, one of the things that happens as we age is stem cells deplete. And now, the big question, what the hell's a stem cell, Dan? Well, stem cells are cells that can actually become any cell in the body. It can become a heart cell, it can become a lung cell, a liver cell, a muscle cell, whatever, bone cell. It's capable of becoming whatever. It's just sort of like a generic cell that is able to become something else. And once a cell becomes a very specific kind of cell, like a heart cell can never become a lung cell, just can't. But T cells can become one, and they stay that way forever. They become a lung cell, and then they can't decide to be a heart cell next week. And it's like, no, you're now a lung cell. But they're a part of the healing process. So any of the damage that's potentially been done inside of us, this helps heal it. It helps in a lot of ways, and we'd be surprised some of the damages that come to us. So STEM Active is a great way to get those stem cells up on a regular basis. It actually helps your health a great deal. STEM Active Gel, they've got back in stock for those of you that maybe were looking for that. It's essentially this, except not in pill form. It's in a gel or liquid form, so a much easier way to take for some people. Amaze is one I love. It's the collagen supplement, right? It's a great product, and it gets you a very good version of collagen, a healthy version of it, and that's for your nails, your bones, your joints, your muscles. Like, collagen's used all over the place. It's a great thing. I drink it after my workouts. Helps a lot. I'm using the Prime nitric oxide booster, which we'll get to in a second, but I use that before my workouts, and that gives me some extra energy. And it helps with some libido stuff, too. I'm just going to say, without saying too much, and they've also got this thing called AO12, which actually gets your antioxidants out of your system. It's a very powerful product as well. Antioxidants are ions that float around, and they can just basically rip apart cells. They can take a part of that cell off and make itself happy, and that actually damages the cell. Creates sometimes a different molecule altogether, which can work out very poorly for you. This actually removes those floating free radicals out of your system and helps you keep that part clean. And again, Prime, I've talked about, powerful stuff. And they've also got STEM Active for pets. It's good stuff. You can get stem cells in your pets as well. This is all the products that this place does, but they do them well, and they're really, really good. So go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Easy way to stay healthy, easy way to keep it up on a regular basis, and frankly, you feel the difference. It's pretty awesome stuff. Go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com and make sure you're making that positive step towards a more healthy future. Dominic Michael Trippi posted this. He said, President Donald Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, has reportedly limited Elon Musk's direct access to the president. Now, if this is true, I can see a lot of people making assumptions that I would kind of assume are probably incorrect. I think Elon Musk, most likely because of just sheer enjoyment of what he's doing and being involved in something different and all that, and just the way his intellectual mind works, I think he probably wants to be more involved than he really should be. And so there's that. And then I think on top of that, Trump's busy and doesn't have time to entertain somebody that maybe likes to ask questions or talk about stuff. And Trump doesn't want to be rude. But at the same time, he's like, bro, I don't even, aren't you running 5 companies? How do you have this much time? I don't. I'm running a nation right now. I really don't have time for this. So I think there's a Few things at work. I don't think this is any sort of falling out with Musk at all. And maybe there's a bit of distancing because of what's going to happen in the future that maybe is going to favor Musk business-wise, and they don't want them being too close because it might look bad. Whatever the case is, we'll see. I'm not going to take it bad right now. I think Trump has picked a great team and a team that's definitely going to support him, and I don't see that fracturing. I see the news trying to fracture things, and I see many people trying to create questions or trying to create doubt, which I also don't think is helpful or appropriate for that matter. I think we're totally winning. We're creaming it right now, and we got to keep doing what we're doing because we are definitely moving forward and we're making great strides. President Trump straight up talking about getting rid of income tax in this particular video. Crazy, right?
She said no tax on it. How about just no tax? You could do that. You know, if the tariffs work out like I think, a thing like that could happen if you want to know the truth. You know, years ago, 1870 to 1913, we didn't have an income tax. What we had is tariffs, where foreign countries came in and they stole our jobs, they stole our companies, they stole our product, they ripped us off. And, you know, they used to do numbers, and then we went to a tariff system, and the tariff system made so much money. It was when we were the richest from 1870 to 1913. Then we brilliantly came in with an income tax. No, we don't want others to pay. Let's have our people pay. And then you had the Depression in 1928, 1929. I call it 1929. That was a bad time, but you know, you didn't have tariffs, and you had tariffs that ended in 1913. But it was the richest our country ever was. That was President McKinley. In fact, we're renaming the mountain, Mount McKinley in Alaska.
And that's the thing. He's calling out the Fed. 1913 is when the IRS was created, the Fed was created, FBI was created. When the deep state took total root in this country, when many would be correct, I think 1871, when they made the Constitution change and created basically the United States Capital Letters Corporation. I really think it started then. Seems that 1913 was when they truly took hold. And this is one of the key things that needs to be destroyed. So he's calling out a lot of stuff, and he's doing it in a very interesting way. Without saying it, he's saying it. U.S. court upholds block on Iowa immigrant arrest law. This is, I think, a good call on the appeals court. I don't know. Maybe it's just my lack of understanding, maybe. Possible. But a U.S. appeals court refused on Friday to allow Iowa to implement a law allowing for the rearrest and prosecution of people in the country illegally. Again, that's a federal government thing. Biden's weren't doing it. So then a lot of states took it on themselves. I think this maybe started prior, or maybe this was something they were hoping to do since Trump's now and wanting to help home and whatever. That's not their role, not their job. And the states really shouldn't be. I mean, Texas obviously lost a lot of these same kinds of things. So I don't know. I think the appeals court kind of got it. That's really should be a federal government thing. Whether or not the Fed does it properly, well, that's always a question. I think Trump obviously is. Dismiss this case entirely. Well, Fani Willis is asking the court to stop the state's legislators from enforcing subpoenas for documents and testimony about Trump RICO prosecution. She wants to do all of her stuff in a vacuum. She doesn't want anyone to see what she's actually been doing. It seems this is going to continue moving forward, but she's trying to get it to stop. I doubt she's going to be successful, and I think ultimately she is going to be found in contempt and likely lose her law license. That is really my ultimate expectation with her. We, of course, will see how things play out. Dramatic course changes. Apparently, we've had a lot of light natural gas tankers that are American that were heading for Europe have changed course and apparently are going to some different locations that are actually hurting right now in liquid natural gas, locations that were actually buying it from Russia. And the fact that Trump has come in and changed these laws and changed them, we are now actually helping kind of deter Russia or take some of Russia's money from them by now providing the LNG rather than letting them do it. This is a brilliant move. This is also bringing money into our coffers. Apparently, this LNG was destined for Asia and Colombia, which Yeah, and all said it got diverted to Europe to help with them and what's going on there and to provide immediate assistance for people that are, frankly, freezing right now. There's also been a cyber attack on Ukraine that exposes the major fear of the digital ID system. Everybody with this digital ID system, apparently this system got hacked heavily. This was last month. Several key government databases were taken offline, disrupting essential services like legal filings and marriage registrations. Officials assured citizens that the controversial DIIA, the government's widely used e-governance app, would soon be restored, but the incident laid bare significant risks within the app's centralized back end. So anybody that needs one of these apps to buy stuff can't. If the system goes down, if it gets hacked, and God knows what other stuff they can do once it is hacked. Something to think about. South Korean President Yoon has been indicted for insurrection over the martial law decree. We heard that his case had been pushed to prosecutors to do, in fact, this, that they wanted to keep him locked up longer but couldn't legally, and this was the only way to move forward. So apparently, again, whether he's guilty or not, I don't know. I do not know if he's a good guy or not. The way they're treating him makes me think he's probably a good guy. But again, who knows? Donald Trump truthed this out. The White House in Washington, again, a lot of people have talked about how it refuses to refer to it as D.C. anymore. I don't know if there's anything to that. I haven't seen it. I don't think it's like a thing yet. Maybe it's something Trump's doing in the Google Maps or whatever. Again, I don't think it's a thing per se. There's still a circle supposedly around the D.C. district. If you scroll out a little bit, you'll see that. So they might have just changed the way they show it, too. Again, whatever the case is, we haven't gotten rid of the Federal Reserve or the Fed yet, and D.C. is still kind of that armpit of our, company. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Again, I don't know how this manifests. I just know that things are going to change, and hopefully it goes smoothly, or smooth as possible. So they're saying today, this is Trump's post, I guess, or the White House's post, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Today, the world celebrates as President Trump secured the release of 4 more Israeli hostages who were, for far too long, held against their will by Hamas in horrific conditions. The United States will continue with its great partner, Israel, to push for the release of all remaining hostages and the pursuit of peace throughout the region. So that's awesome. More hostages coming home. Court is rejecting Netanyahu's request to testify just once in his trial next week, trying to shorten the duration of the hearings, trying to deal with the war and everything else that's going on. Again, this is not sure. I know Netanyahu also left troops in place that were supposed to be withdrawn per the treaty. So he's not fully following the treaty. Not necessarily attacking anybody, but he's not pulling back troops, which is interesting. I don't know. We'll see who shoots first. I kind of think that's what they want. And then if Trump's in office and they break deals, then Trump can just overwhelmingly settle things, and maybe Israel realizes that. It's hard to say. Donald Trump addressed people for the March for Life, and it was pretty cool, a little thing he did here. So check this out.
Hello to everyone at the March for Life. It's a pleasure to speak to you from the beautiful Oval Office. That's where we are right now, the magnificent Oval Office. And thank you for turning out once again to show your extraordinary love and compassion for the unborn. Each year, Americans of every age, color, and background travel to our nation's capital by the tens of thousands to stand up for precious little babies who cannot stand up for themselves. I am proud to be the first president ever to have joined you in person. As you know, this annual march started 52 years ago on the first anniversary of the disastrous ruling known as Roe v. Wade. That unconstitutional decision took power away from the states and the voters, kicking off 50 years of division and anger. But thanks to your tireless work and devotion across 5 decades, that historic wrong was set right 3 years ago. I was so proud to be a participant. 6 courageous justices of the Supreme Court of the United States returned the issue to the state legislatures and to the people where it belongs. It became a vote of the people. In my second term, we will again stand proudly for families and for life. We will protect the historic gains we have made and stop the radical Democrat push for a federal right to unlimited abortion on demand, up to the moment of birth and even after birth. Think of that, after birth. And some people want that. Can you believe it? We will work to offer a loving hand to new mothers and young families, and we will support adoption and foster care. We will protect women and vulnerable children. Under my leadership, a reformed Department of Justice will finally investigate the radical left attacks on churches and crisis pregnancy centers, and we will bring perpetrators to justice. We will get them to justice one way or the other. I will also end the weaponization of law enforcement against Americans of faith, and I'm releasing the Christians and pro-life activists who were persecuted by the Biden regime for praying and living out their faith. I just signed that document, and they're being released. One such American was Paula Harlow. At 75 years old, Paula was sentenced to 2 years in prison after praying outside of a clinic. That's why she was sentenced to 2 years. That's what happened under the Biden regime. In her sentencing, the judge mocked her Christian faith while her husband pleaded to be thrown in jail with his wife, fearing she would die alone behind bars. This week, it was my honor to grant a full and complete pardon to Paula and many others who were the victims of this horrific weaponization. Never again will religious persecution be allowed to happen in America. To all of the very special people marching today in this bitter cold, I know your hearts are warm and your spirits are strong, because your mission is just very, very pure, to forge a society that welcomes and protects every child as a beautiful gift from the hand of our Creator. Thank you for never losing hope and never giving up. Thank you for your tremendous support. God bless you, and God bless America.
I love Trump's ability to be able to speak to everybody. I think that's one thing that's just amazing, because there's some people that are hardcore, abortion should never ever happen, a second conception, hell, the second sex happens practically, that this is created, and the second that the egg and the zygote come together, a flash of light occurs. Like, I know, all this stuff happens. And so, again, there's a variant of people that are like, nah, maybe later is when the soul comes in. Like, there's whatever, okay? Wherever you are in that whole belief system, he speaks to all of us. I think that's what's cool. You know what I mean? And he does it in a very, I don't want to say generic. I don't know, maybe some would say that's a fault, but I think it's kind of powerful, because it's like a lot of the Democrat governors and stuff are realizing a whole bunch of people in my state just voted for this Republican dude. I ought to maybe have a different stance on how I view quote-unquote MAGA extremists. Maybe I should stop calling them that, because my state is full of them. So, again, there's some power in being able to navigate difficult conversations without being hardcore on maybe your views, but sort of softening them a little in the area of letting somebody else kind of experience this common ground with you. And I think some of us are quick to do that. We might be quick to jump to the conspiracy things. I got a great friend, like, no matter what we're talking about, he will immediately like, yeah, and Michael Obama's a dude. And it's just like, man, there was no need for that. Yes, that's true. I 100% agree with that, but not necessary to bring up all the time, right? And so many of us want to. Like, we can hold back on some of the crazy people. You got to gauge somebody. If they're like, I'm hearing questions that some people may be other sexes. Well, there's a funny Ellen DeGeneres video that shows Michelle dancing, and I swear to God, it looks like something's happening down there in the old Dingle Range, right? And I've also seen a picture or a video of the same individual walking out of an apartment building. I don't know where it was, Chicago, New York, wherever it was. And you notice some dingling. So, yeah, there might be some truth to that. And that would be my response to somebody that's starting to ask questions, because you got to help them along, not necessarily just smack them with some sort of hardcore crazy. Whatever. JFK is going to be another one of those, because I think there's so much stuff that's right, wrong, stuff that we believe we've figured out, stuff that maybe we've kind of gone off on tangents and decided, whatever the case is, and then whether or not the CIA has actually released everything they know. A lot going on, but the fact that it's being talked about, Tucker Carlson covered this. I thought this was a pretty cool little segment. Check this out.
Biden just reclassified the Kennedy documents 60 years after his assassination. No one, even peripherally involved, is still alive. So what could possibly be the sources and methods that were supposedly showing the world by declassifying these are so outdated they're irrelevant. They were using disappearing ink in 1963. So why in the world would we be continuing to hide the truth about the Kennedy assassination 60 years later? And of course, the answer is obvious, because it implicates not individuals, but institutions, and reveals them as complicit in a murder and in the overthrow of the U.S. government. And the U.S. government is complicit in the overthrow of the U.S. government. And that's the truth. I know that for a fact because I interviewed someone who saw the documents.
So yeah, that sounds pretty solid. Sounds like maybe he knows something that a lot of us don't. Joe Biden potentially faces excommunication after quiet induction into historically black Masonic lodge. This is very interesting. Supposedly, he was joined the Freemason Lodge just one day after leaving the presidency. Biden was conferred with Master Mason membership and full honors on January 19th at the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of the state of South Carolina, according to the Conference of Grand Masters announcement. Joining the Freemasons as a Catholic forbids an individual from receiving communion with the potential for excommunication, according to the canon law of the Catholic Church. So many people are saying that he should lose his ability to be able to receive communion. Also, just I think the important part of the story is that he literally, on the last day of his presidency, joined a Freemason lodge that has historically been, and when they say black, they mean the dark side of the Freemasons. I think there's a lot of Freemasons that actually think they're doing good stuff, and I think on the lower levels they are. I think it's when you get into the upper levels, really 33 / past 33, there's supposed to be a unique test that happens at that point. If you basically piss all over Christ's grave, then you are allowed to move into the darker areas of it. If you choose to save Christ because you love Christ, then you stay as a 33rd and you never ever move past that, and you never learn really of what the Freemasons actually are, and you always assume you know because you're a 33rd degree Mason. It's actually a funny little thing that's put in place as a means of keeping people like us from knowing the truth, because you've got good people that are 33 degree Masons. I know one. He's a wonderful individual. Of course he is, but he's not a 34 degree Mason or whatever the other number is they like to gravitate towards. It's different. So yes, Joe Biden is now officially barred from communion and in a grave state of sin after becoming a Freemason. Any priest, and this is from the Catholic arena, I don't know if this is legitimate, but they're, again, trying to get this to come. The Vatican is deep state, as much as that's going to be hard for so many people to accept. The current pope is definitely not a positive person. So again, whether this ever happens, this excommunication, I doubt it, but whatever. Any priest who gives communion to Biden is now committing a serious breach of church rules after Biden joined the anti-Catholic secret society last week, and literally on the last day of his administration. And finally, the White House is in talks to have Oracle and U.S. investors take over TikTok. And we'll see how that plays out. It'd be interesting. Again, Oracle is one of the 3 people that are investing a crap ton of money into the United States. Funny that you would let them have access to it. Now, Oracle, I don't know. They got a very unique kind of database system. I remember it being quite a pain in the ass to have to deal with. We had very few customers that used it, so there's only, I think, 1 or 2 installations that I helped with, and there was this weird little agent thing that had to be in there, and it was just a lot of little pains in the ass with that database. SQL Server was significantly more easy to set up. That's just one of the things I remember. But all said, Oracle is an interesting interesting company. Let's say that. And they've done some good stuff too. Who knows? Maybe they're doing it right. That's quite possible. Hard to say because Microsoft is behind SQL Server and most of that technology. And again, a lot of my background is SQL. I love SQL. SQL and like Visual Basic were the two I did a lot of really, really cool stuff with those 2 languages. Certainly Visual Basic made some fun apps. So that was just one of my little moments of coding. But oddly, I always wanted to be a DJ. Well, I wanted to be a doctor first, and I was going to school to be a doctor. I was pre-med, and then fell in love with radio. As a person at the hot dog stand, I've told the story before, but a guy that owns a hot dog stand sold single cigarettes, and I was a smoker, always trying to quit. So that was how I smoked at school. And he told me about the radio program, and it was the first day I took a class, I fell in love. I was like, this is definitely what I want to do. And it was just weird. There was no looking back. I actually didn't even finish my second semester of OChem. Kind of bums me out a little bit, but at the same time, OChem was hard as hell. So yeah, it was a change of pace. I actually have an associate's in chemistry. I've taken enough, and they were happy with that. But yeah, I didn't get all through my pre-med stuff. I'm happy with where I'm at, though. It's funny how life works. Sometimes we want to go in a direction, but life takes us in another direction. Really, one of the keys is accepting that direction is where you're supposed to be. Find that. Find your love for where you're at in the moment, and you will be amazed at what you're able to do with the moment. You're there for a reason. God put you exactly where you're at for a reason. Indulge in that. Live with that. Be that. And you'll be surprised how awesome life will turn out for you. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.